Hello, everybody. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session about DevOps for hybrid landscapes. We are 3 colleagues from ALM team from Center of Expertise of SAP. Myself, Pavel Korenev, Ivan Khudikov, and Alexander Tesla. And actually, our main activities in our team, we deliver services and projects to implement DevOps and ALM processes for our customers. So why we have chosen this topic, DevOps for hybrid landscapes? Because first of all, in the DevOps area, we have quite a lot of requests from our customers. And also often when they come, they see the application, distributed functionality. One part is deployed on the cloud, like UI5 application, and it is linked, the functionality is linked to the on-premise backend system like S4. And then we really need to propose a way how to make a DevOps, how to run automatically all the necessary steps to move our developments and artifacts and applications from the beginning, from when we start only to plan application till the final deployment. Therefore, we prepared the session for you, DevOps for hybrid landscapes, just to share our experience and knowledge on this topic. Okay, so let's start, and I'm going to switch to the next. Yes. Okay. So just from the beginning, some little introduction information. Maybe, of course, maybe you have seen already similar slides before in the meeting. Nevertheless, just to go from initial steps, we will describe our approach. In this first slide, we have put here like a roadmap. Yeah, with the transformation. And one of the starting points here is approach how to manage projects. This step by step, phase by phase way to deliver the projects when every phase of the project definitely needs to be completed before you move to the next one. Quite secure way to do everything, but quite long. And finally, at the end, when the application is delivered to the business team, might be this is something they do not expect. And then the next point here, agile. This is more frequent deliveries based on the sprint planning. Okay, sorry, because sometimes it's here, I don't know why. So, but when we go to the next stop, this is agile, and the methodology and the planning is based on the more short-term sprints, where we have develop and test our application, and then demonstrate to the business team the results. And we can be really agile here. We can adopt our next deliveries and developments based on the previous discussions or feedbacks. And then finally here, the DevOps, which is proactive, test-driven approach. We have to consider here quite a lot of automation, automation to build the application, run necessary tests and deployments. The next one slide. Okay. So, and in this IT transformation from yesterday to tomorrow in this journey towards to DevOps, you see here a waterfall. We still have a time like exploration phase of the project, and then a period for the coding, quite a long time. Then after the testing, and finally deployment into production. In the agile, the steps more or less the same, still design period, but then we do the coding, and after that functional test, and after the tests are finished, we really have possibility to demonstrate our new version of the application to the business team, so that collect necessary feedbacks and adopt our next steps and next sprints according to the new or changing requirements. And in the DevOps, again, the same colors here, coding, testing, go live, but very fast. So we have to make our process with all the necessary integration and tools to provide the possibility to develop, then automatically move our new artifacts into quality or integration environment, make necessary tests, and even automatically deploy to pre-production or our production environment. Okay, check the chat. Okay, thank you. Next. So then this technological automation is really key to benefit from this short and agile iteration cycles. And it makes this automation is mandatory to make a DevOps in any organization. What kind of steps here when we say develop, test, and deploy? It's a little bit longer. So first of all, the planning of the new requirements to process and understand what is the product backlog, prepare necessary change request or description of the changes. Then we go to the coding. So this is using different development environment like SAP Web ID or Business Application Studio to implement necessary code. And when it is ready to build the application, here we should consider automatic execution of the unit test, code verification, and finally build the necessary archive with all the dependencies and artifacts that we need. Once we have this archive, we move it to the next step, integration environment. We can say also this is quality, system quality environment to make necessary tests. And yeah, first of all, functional tests here. Once the functional test is done and our functionality is ready, then another one stage also test, but here we will run the full regression testing, maybe UAT and yeah, final verification that we are ready to go live. Then it's ready, the release, combination into the release to create a new set of application settings or changes that need to be deployed, import into production, and finally we should have possibility to monitor to understand how good our application, collect the feedbacks from users, maybe in a meeting, maybe you using different kind of surveys. And again, once we understand what can be improved in the application, make again the planning, understand the new requirements, and process the backlog again. I'm going to the next slide and okay. So this a little bit more details about different levels of automation if we move from agile towards to the DevOps. So in the first line here, if it's agile development, then yes, we should have a tool to plan the product backlog, understand the requirements, and then the IDE to support the developers, and finally scripts that will build the necessary objects or archive as an application. But then the rest of the steps still manual. Then we can say we are agile in the development. But if we go one step further here and provide the possibility to move our application archive into quality environment, so to say, to execute CI pipelines, for example, and run functional tests out of that, then this is continuous integration. Yeah, but still some of the rest of the steps to deploy to pre-production, production may be manual. Continuous delivery, even more automation here. Now go to quality system, run functional test, regression testing, then collection of the release. And according to the workflows, we can actually coordinate and deploy our artifacts into production. And when they say hybrid environment, it's quite important because in the same time, that one part of the application related to UI5, for example, deploy it on cloud, at the same time and parallel synchronously, we need to import our ABAP backend transports into the on-premise landscapes. And yes, on the next slide here, we just wanted to put a reference architecture, quite generic one, just an example. Maybe it was implemented to one of the customers. So then at the first area here, you see continuous business planning. All right. So here we do what? We collect the requirements as a backlog, understand what needs to be done in the application, and then assign the requirement to the work package. Work package is planned for implementation according to the projects, project waves, project planning, in the correspondence maybe to the best practices, project documentation, linked with the business process model, and we plan this according to the existing release schedule. So the work package. Work package, we break down into one many work items. Yeah? And every work item here already, might be tasks to develop something. One part of task or application goes for UI5, and one developer responsible to create very beautiful UI5 application can work here. And another part may be related to any kind of on-premise backend service that will be used together with the UI5 app. And then when the JavaScript, this UI5 application is ready, we can trigger the execution of pipelines, and this pipeline automatically will do the steps as a script. First is to run unit test, then to build the archive application, and then finally here not deploy but download or attach the generated archive into CTS Plus, for example, to CTS Plus transport request. And the parallel, the same can be done also for ABAP objects. So then, it will be saved into CTS transport. And finally, the workflows, how we move forward to quality pre-production, production environment. Here we can control with charm or focus build. You see, we put here in this example SAP because those steps can be supported by Solution Manager tools, for example, like focus build or charm. And then the workflows inside those applications, processes are used to manage the synchronous deployment into on-premise systems and to the cloud sub-accounts. And of course, very important here on the bottom, the monitoring possibilities, so that we can understand what is the project progress, how many requirements are done, and what is the remaining product backlog, the status of the pipeline execution, so just to keep tracking on all those processes. Okay, thank you. Now I will hand over to my colleague, Ivan.
Thank you, Pavel. And then we come to important part of DevOps methodology is the testing. And here what we use right now is a Tosca Tricentis tools and the Tosca continuous integration that allows us to, in automated way, to run test cases that are required without any user control. So that's possible to integrate it just directly via remote server, your CI build server, and the agent that will do the execution, or there is a Tosca distributed execution engine that also can be used. In our case, we have a test engineer workspace, the person who is in charge of creating automated tests, and he or she connects to the common repository and stores their test cases, execution lists, modules, and so on, any artifact that is required to have working test case. And then our CI server jump in when we need to run some functional tests. There is some agent machine or remote machine where we have a Tosca CI client installed. And from the GitLab in our case, or any other CI tool, we can trigger the execution as soon as this pipeline is, the execution is triggered. The Tosca CI client gets the latest version of the test cases and execution from the common repository, do actually the execution, and save results in two places. So first of all, in the common repository, all the details regarding all the tests, test steps and the values and so on. And it also provides the execution results to CI server that will then take those execution results into account when it will decide should we go further within the pipeline or no. Okay, and then we come to the delivery approach. So as you can see, a lot of icons on this slide, and that's definitely what we face with different customers. So a lot of tools exist on the market for different purposes, and for testing, for building, for executing, for developing, plenty of things. And then how we usually deliver such kind of projects as a proof of concept. So we always start with roadmap workshops. So that's a place, or that's the sessions where we describe what is a DevOps, how it looks like, what are the benefits, and so on, and which stages of the process should exist. And we assess what our customers already have in place and what is missing. And together we design a desired DevOps process. So how it should look like, which tools should be integrated, and so on. As soon as this DevOps process is designed and ready, then we do the technical configuration. So that's a lot of things. We need to integrate different SAP and non-SAP tools. We need to define the pipeline. We need to make sure the proper, let's say, Docker containers are used and they already have everything required inside. And this implementation, we also always trying to do in a agile way. So not like we start, then we disappear for 1 month and then get back, here you go, the already proof of concept. No, we go in a agile way, and we try step by step, getting new stuff ready. We perform a show and tell sessions, demonstrate what is ready, discuss with the stakeholders what could be improved, what needs to be adjusted, and so on. And step by step, we come to the timeline when the POC is ready. So it works as it's expected. We have a design process in place, tools integrated, everything automated. Everybody is happy, but what we need to do is to validate the results. How difficult the process, can it be used for other activities, and so on. And based on the validation results, we can think about rollout of this process to some other projects or to the whole company. And of course, at any time, we can think about automation of any activity that is not automated. So increase the automation rate as much as possible. Okay, and a bit, I think that the last slide we have, because we prepared for you a demo, a real case that we implemented here, and a few words on the slides regarding what we will present on the demo. So that's the process that we have. So we have a backlog in the beginning, and that could be any tool. It could be focus built with requirements. It could be standard SAP Solution Manager requirements. It might be Jira. It might be, I don't know, ServiceNow. So any tool, SAP, non-SAP, could be used as a product backlog. And then we have a starting point is a change document in SAP Solution Manager. That's a place where we define some technical things, where we will store the relationship to our development, and so on. And actually, that is something that we start with. So we have the hybrid environment. So we have an on-premise system with 4 systems inside, and we have a cloud system with 3 sub-accounts in it. And as a part of the change document, we have to develop 2 parts. We have to develop ABAP, and we have to develop UI5. And with UI5, it's more or less straightforward. So we have Web IDE or whatever IDE you prefer to use, VS Code or whatever you like. And we have SE80 or any maybe other tools that you would like to use for ABAP development. And we have a transport request for this, because when we start the development, we need to start saving everything in the transport request that exists on our development system. When we finish our UI5 development, we commit the changes and maybe we do some local tests, and then we commit and push and pull changes to our Git repository. And on this point of time, we decided, okay, now it's time to continue. We finished with the development and we want to continue with our next steps. And from change document, we trigger a pipeline in the GitLab. And the first thing that the pipeline will do is perform the unit test. Automatically perform the unit tests and provide us the results. If everything is fine, then we build the MTI archive that will be deployed later on in our sub-accounts. As soon as we build it, we need to upload it to CTS. So we create in automated way, of course, we create a transport request for UI5 and we upload the build it MTR archive in this transport request. And if so far everything is fine, then what we do, in automatic way, we change the status of change document to be tested, and we import transport of copies of this transport request into our QA environment. And as soon as transport of copies are in QA environment, we can start testing. And this part is also automated. So we have functional tests developed in Tricentis Tosca, and our pipeline automatically triggers that execution. So it executes and returns us back the results based on which we can either define that everything is fine and that our change document is successfully tested, or we can fail everything and then return back change document to in development, and we will need to do some fixes, of course. Okay, we have some more steps in addition to this because we go further, and as soon as successful, if positive flow and successfully tested status is on our change document, then we can continue with the next phase, and we can transport our transport requests at the pre-production environment and perform regression testing. So then we change the status of the change document as a testing to for production import. In automated way, we execute our regression package, and if everything is fine, we also in automated way we change the status of change document, test it for production import. And on this stage, we stop with automation. The reason is that transfer to production is quite often quite sensitive task, and a lot of, or let's say 99% of customers prefer to do it manually. So then next steps to finally move everything to productive environment, we do manually, but it doesn't mean that it could not be automated. So it's also possible to be automated. Okay, and now I will stop slides, and I would like to show you the recorded demo and give some comments on here. So we start with the change document. In our case, we just created here in Solution Manager. So we define the description. We select the appropriate change cycle that in which we have two actually landscapes like it was on the slides. And yeah, so some generic creation of change document, nothing extraordinary here, except this part for GitLab data. So we will see it soon, where we need to define which project we would like to use, and source branch and target branch. Yeah, we need to define some description of change that this recording for ALM summit, and thinking that might be need to save, but before we save, let's define the GitLab stuff. So we select the GitLab project, source branch, and target branch. Great, we save, and the one thing that we forgot to define, it's actually not really mandatory, but still needs to be done. We assign the developer, tester, and IT operator, all guys who were participated in this preparation. Okay, and as soon as this is ready, so we have change document in the new status, we can start the development. So we switch it to in development status, And then what we need to do, we need to create a transport request. And on the landscape, so we have here two systems, ABAP and non-ABAP. And on the transport management, we will create only transport request for our ABAP landscape. So that would not be a great development of some extraordinary functionality. We will just do some customizing. So we have a transport request. Inside this transport request, we have a task in the status modifiable, so we can start actually the development. And we go to our development system, that is SM2 101, and we add some customizing entry here for ALM Summit. And in the end, what we want to do is to just save this into our transport request. Just in case you have a lot of transport requests and you don't want to search through the list, you can at any time just copy it from your change document and paste in the pop-up window that requires the request. Okay, so it's saved successfully, and let's say we finished with the development of customizing, and the only thing that we need to do is to release the task, not the transport request itself, only the task, and that means we finished the development and we exit from the development system. So in the change document, same time, the task is released. And in parallel, another developer, let's call him Maxim, he starts the UI development. So he starts a local server. He wants to take a look what is there, how the application looks like. And it looks pretty nice, but the message pop-up event creation is not nice. So he wants to change it, and he do it locally and just change the text or whatever it will be developed. It here again doesn't matter how big your development will be. So we change the message that will be shown on the screen when we press the create an event, and we want to make sure that it's really how we want. So we use our local server to make sure that it works as expected. Cool. So what we need to do, we need to commit it first and add some meaningful message, of course, to understand what do you commit here, and then push and pull it to the Git repository. Okay, so it takes a few seconds to do it, and as soon as it's ready, we are done with the UI development. So basically saying our, I will stop here for a second. What we have here, ABAP development is done, UI development is done. And what next is expected, that we can start testing it. So we need to move it to quality environment and so on and so on. But so far what we have, only one transport request in the list, and we trigger pipeline directly from the change document. So as soon as we trigger pipeline, so the ID is 196, and this pipeline is in our GitLab, looks like this. And the first step, we have a unit test, and it do the execution. And if everything is fine, like in our case, we can see the list of tests and how many passed and blah, blah, blah. Everything is fine. And the next step we have is to build the MTA archive. So it also takes some time. Finally, it's passed, and now it's time to upload this MTA archive. But we need to have something where we will upload it. So this job creates a transport request and then uploads the MTA archive there. Okay, successfully done. So we still have our document, normal change, is status in development. But if we will refresh now the transport management, we will see there is a transport request. And in the object list, we have a calendar 1.00 uploaded. And as a part of this activity, we also switch status of change document. So now it's in to-be test. Great. Next, we need to do some functional tests. And this is done. Okay. Yeah. The transport of copies are in the quality assurance, and the functional tests could be started. And they started on the separate virtual machine on which we have Tosca CI installed. So the job arrived and it starts the execution, perform the required checks, open, close browsers where it is required or whatever else. Do the execution of test cases. Okay, we see the message is exactly what we expected. Great. I think one more test case is executed and the execution is finished successfully. And as well, directly in the pipeline, we can see the test results. So we have 3 test cases inside and all 3 have status success. If you want to have a very detailed log, you can at any time open your Tosca repository and you will have the details there. And what next? In the same stage, we want to switch status of Solution Manager to successfully tested. And we do this. So now it is successfully tested and we don't stop here. We continue and the next step is to switch status to testing for preliminary import. So it's fine. And now we should have not the transport of copy imported, but the original transports imported into our landscape. So then the regression pack is executed. So it's again with the Tosca and we see those tests on the test tab and here's a separate job. And inside we have test cases with appropriate name that are executed. So everything is fine here as well. So we can continue and the final status is to switch status of Solution Manager document to tested for production import. Okay, I will hand over now to Alexander because we need to give you a bit of information about the pipeline itself, right? So let me...
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Ivan.
I think you need to request a control.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So as you can see on the screen, we have positive result of pipeline. And inside this pipeline, we, let's say, separate our process to 5 steps. First, it's a unit test. Then we perform build of our NTA archive. Then stage to upload CTS. On this stage, we upload CTS from our runner, from GitLab runner, I mean, and then we switch status in the Solution Manager. Then we have a functional test stage. During the stage, we perform functional testing, then 2 switches in the Solution Manager, and then regression test. So for each step, we develop some, okay, not develop, but use different functionality of pipelines and different Docker containers. For example, for run unit testing, let's continue. We are using a specific Docker container, and after execution, this when we download the Docker container and execute in GitLab runner, we execute karma tests. And if everything is good, then we finish this job successfully and upload artifact. So next step, it's a build MTA. Here we are using another Docker container, which have specific command inside, just to build this Docker container, and this artifact save on a GitLab server to share this artifact following steps like upload MTA. If everything is good, yes, now we can see that we successfully built this entire archive and move forward. Okay, on the next step, we have upload MTA archive to Solution Manager to transport request. So as you can see here, we use another Docker container, which have CM client inside. And On the first step, we create transport request in a Solution Manager site. That's what I want to show previously. And then we use existing artifact, calendar 100 MTR, to upload to this transport request. Here we have a result of execution of this job. File uploaded, the transport request number, and change document number is following. Yes. So, and yes, as you can see, this is our transport request and change document number. Everything is good. Then we should execute functional test package. That's a few words about this part. On the GitLab, we use few runners. One runner was specified especially for Tosca 3 synthesis task to execute this test. And another runner is just to run karma test, just to upload MTI archive, build and upload MTI archives, and also to switch statuses in the Solution Manager. So he will perform a couple of tests, and based on the results of this test, we switch status of Solution Manager. We have some, so here we use another Docker container just to perform curl HTTP call to Solution Manager. On Solution Manager side, we have custom development API to perform status switch for change document. We have change document number, and we have a call to this API.
Okay, thank you, Alex.
Okay.
And yeah, and I think the last point I will take care of is we have a change document and status tested for production import, but it's still not in production. And as I said before, the last steps we do manually, just because of experience we have with different customers. But again, it doesn't mean that it's not possible to automate. So we just can add some more steps here. But what we do, we manually authorize change document to be imported into production and actually import to production. So that will take some time because transport request should arrive into productive environments. And as soon as it is ready, we will also check if that's really in place. Okay, so it's now finished and we go to SM2 104, that's our productive client, and check if in our table we have a required key in place. It is there. And what we also need to do is to check that UI5 part is also arrived, and what we do it as well. So we open the application and check the create button. Hit this. Just relax and watch ALM Summit 2021. Okay, I think that's it from our side. So just to summarize, maybe a few words about the approach. So the important part here is the process, the tools, and how it's how our experience shows tools could be integrated. They're always an option. So that it's important to have a process, and it's also important to be ready for this, because sometimes people want to have DevOps in place, but they're not really ready for this. But that's another discussion, I think. Yeah, that's all from our side. I think we have a few questions, so I will hand over.
Yeah, guys, many thanks for the session. Maybe I would repeat questions from the chat. So the first one is, can other tools than Tricentis, Tosca, be used for the test script management? Is it possible with any other third party?
I think I will answer here. Yes, it's possible. Yeah, we just need to see how particular tool can be called from the pipeline. But that's possible. That's possible with another third party. One of the popular is Microsoft Focus UFT. That's also possible to be used in this case.
All right, great. Thank you. The next one is, when the status switches are triggered through pipeline jobs, will there be an audit trail in Solution Manager who then triggers the status update?
Shall I answer, please? Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me? I will answer this question. So basically, when this user status, yes.
I will.
Yeah, your microphone wasn't.
And now, can you hear me?
Yeah. No, it's better. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Sometimes it's, settings may be changed. So when we trigger the status updates from the pipeline jobs, basically we have exposed all data service on Solution Manager side, and we can, yes, we can actually define who is changing the status, put it into the logs, yeah, to process it further inside, like, you know, for the audit. So it's possible.
All right, great. And the last one for now, do all normal changes you preliminary import steps 7 and 8 by default, or is it also possible to have statuses 4 and 5 instead? To be honest.
I think I understood the question. Is it okay if I answer, please? Okay. Basically, yes, in our demo example, it was preliminary import. You write your steps 7 and 8 to activate this individual imports of this change into productive environment, like in the DevOps, you know, that we move immediately, make the tests and import into the system. But if your process required to make some different steps, and the status is like to be tested and successfully tested, and after that you expect to run some background jobs, maybe, I mean, different process, then it's also possible, because here normally we discuss with the customers what kind of procedure they would like to have, and then just to implement it across different tools. Okay.
All right. Thank you for this. As we already reached the time, I would encourage everybody to join our Meet the Expert session. Also, the speakers of this session will also join this session. Yeah. And for this, I would now close this session.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very much.